So one of my favorite papers to recently be published is called, it's a doozy, wait for it, is Brain Structure and Functional Connectivity Correlate with Psychosocial Development in Contemplative Practitioners and Controls. I know, that's like a mouthful. It was published by Omar Singleton in 2021, and of course there was quite a big team involved in this complex and deeply inspiring piece of research. So what they wanted to understand was, how does the self mature and or develop in relationship to mindfulness practice, yoga practice, or not doing it at all? And they were not only looking at psychological scales indicating changes in maturity, essentially like, can I look outside myself and can I update my self-perception in relationship to new information, but also how does that present in the brain? So let's start with the brain bit first, right? So we have a structure in our brain called the cingulate cortex. And generally when I teach, I'm talking about the anterior part, which is like here, right? The front part of the cingulate cortex. Now this part of the brain is very much related to an ability to focus and concentrate. The posterior part, right, further back, and it's not right at the cortex, it's a little deeper, right? That part has been shown to have a role in episodic memory, in our self-referencing, in our narrative, right? So when I'm thinking about who I am, that part of the brain lights up. There's another part of the brain that is very much involved in self-referencing, right? And actually, it's a network that includes the posterior cingulate cortex, or what we abbreviate as the PCC. So this is a bunch of structures around the midline called the default mode network, right? And the default mode network and the PCC talk to each other quite a lot when we're engaged in thinking about us, ourselves, which we do a lot. And that's not always necessarily a good thing. In fact, in meditation, we would probably see a reduction of activity of these structures if we were concentrated. And that's what we want, because we don't want to get totally involved in who am I, what am I doing, how do I think I am, what do people think about me when we're meditating. However, if we want to see a transformation in how we perceive ourselves, it does involve both of these structures becoming more deeply connected so that we can have an upgrade of our perspective. And that is what we find in both yogis and mindfulness practitioners, that these two structures become, within their connectivity, more robust. So that's showing up in the neuroscience. We are uploading, or rather updating, our sense of self. But very intriguingly, what they actually found in this study is that mindfulness meditators have more maturity in terms of self-referencing, like who am I, what am I, I'm also needing to consider things beyond my self-view more than yogis. And the researchers suggested that this might be because mindfulness meditators are really focusing on looking at their thoughts, letting go of them, not attaching, spending a lot of time specifically developing compassion and loving kindness practices. And I think this is really important for us as yoga professionals to consider. If that is the case, we must be adding formal mindfulness practices into what we do for ourselves, because those are vital characteristics for working with others effectively. And I say this all the time in the minded training, right? That we are the vehicle. So we need to be working, yoga is as well, but we're one of them. We need to be working with our stuff. Intriguingly though, the yogis showed up higher on something called fluid intelligence. And that had to do with overall connectivity within brain networks. But usually fluid intelligence refers to an ability to see a situation that is novel and come up with completely novel responses, right? But in this paper, they're talking about network connectivity, and that's probably because we're engaging in some meditation, breathing, and movement. So we're working on so many different pathways. I think the take home for all of us is that if we are practicing yoga, which I hope you're doing, especially if you're watching my Instagram, that you're not forgetting to do formal meditation and that concentration-based meditation isn't enough, but that actually mindfulness meditation, where you look at your thought processes, pull your mind back, and remember that just because you think this about yourself or the world does not make it true, so that your cognition is very flexible and can be updated. And that allows you as a human being to really transform. I know it's kind of a complicated one, but such an awesome paper, and I thought I'd share. Namaste.